All right, beautiful people, welcome back to the branded news session. And today we are going to learn about SQL. So it is basically going to be a structured query language. I will teach you some of the basics. I have seen so many content creators online. They basically teach SQL injection. So our ultimate goal is SQL injection, but if you are a beginner and if you have no knowledge how SQL works, then how you will be able to perform SQL injection on web applications. So that's why before diving into SQL injection, you should have the knowledge about SQL language. So we will cover SQL, and once we just done with the SQL, then we gonna, don't worry, I will not going to be in depth into this stuff, because I know we are not here to learn some programming or development stuff, but you have some basic knowledge about SQL, then you will be able to perform SQL injection attacks. So basically SQL stands for structured query language. Basically it is a programming language designed for managing and manipulating relational databases. Yeah, so you can basically manipulate and manage relational databases. It allows user to interact with databases by performing operations. So you can basically perform operations with the help of SQL. Like what kind of operation? Those operations can be retrieving the data, inserting new records into tables, inserting record into database, whatever you call it. You can basically update the existing record, and you can delete the record if you have already some records in your database. So basically SQL use a set of commands such as select, insert, update, and delete to interact with the data stored in the database. It provides a standardized way to communicate with database and is widely used in application and system involve data storage and retrieval. So that was just simple, you can call it, introduction or definition about SQL injection. You will get all this stuff in your notes, so just don't worry about anything. Okay, after that I want you to teach you some basic things about databases, how to create tables, xyz, some basic stuff. So the first thing I need to teach you is like how you can create database in SQL language. You just need to type create database, and then you can just specify the name of the database. Like for example, let's give it a name, my database. Okay, then just terminate it with the with semicolon. So this is how you can actually create a database, by just typing create database and name of the database. That's all. Now if you want to use that database in order to perform some operations on it, you can actually use this was all about like, let me add a hash, how to create a database. Okay, database. After this I'll teach you how you can actually use the database, the usage. Okay, the use of database. Okay, to use the database you just need to type the keyword use, and then you need to provide the name of the database, in which in our case its name is basically my database. Okay, so basically this is how you can use the database. Now it is the time, like I want to create some tables into it. How I can do it? You can actually create a table. Let's say how to, these are the comments, so just ignore it, just for clarity that you should know how it works. So how to create tables in database. Basically you can create a table by just typing create table, and then you need to provide the name of the table. For example, I want to create a table for the users, so I just need to provide users. That's all I need. After this you can provide the data inside that user. Let's say just use those brackets, and then just give it some enters. After that, you can provide the what kind of columns you want to create into this particular database. So this particular table. So let's say I want to create id, and then I want to create a username column, and then that will definitely contain usernames of the users. And after that, I want to create a new column which is basically passwords, or password. So basically the id will get all those data. That will be basically a primary id, okay, through which you will be able to uniquely identify those data. Don't worry, I'll explain. So let's say this id type should be int, and it should be primary key. It should be a primary key. After this, you need to provide the username to, like what kind of data you want to store in username. So let's say where variable, where care, or where char, whatever you called it. So basically you can add variable and characters into this. You can specify the length, how much you want to provide. So just use this, and the password should be also same in the same way as it have. So just copy this one and paste it here. This is how it works. Then at the end you can just close it with the help of this semicolon. Okay, so this is how it works. Now let me break down it, like what I actually did. In SQL, the ID, username, and passwords are referred to as column names. Okay, each column represents a specific attribute or piece of information within the user table. For example, we have ID, username, and password column. So basically id is an integer column and is defined as primary key, which means it uniquely identify each row in the table. Okay, after that we have username. So username in where care, some people call it char, some people call it care, whatever you called it, where char. So basically username is a where char 50 column, indicating it can store variable length character strings up to 50 characters. The column typically hold the users names of the users, that's all. And password is another varchar 50 column, usually storing hashed or encrypted password for the user's authentication. This is how you can basically create a table inside any database. After this, I'm going to show you how actually you can retrieve the data, so from the tables or database. So I'll say, let's say how to retrieve the data from tables. Let's call it table. Let's say table. So basically you can retrieve the data with the help of a select statement or select command. So just type select the data you want to retrieve. For example, let's say select static from. Now you need to provide the source, like you need to provide the user, you need to provide the table, from which table you want to get the data. Let's say users. So basically what it will do, it will grab all the data that is inside in a user tables. That static means all. Remember that static means all. So select static from users means that please give me all the data that is inside in a user table. Now if you want to get any particular data, let's say select id equal to 1 from users, you will get the data that belongs to that you will get the data of that person that have a id number equal to 1. So this is how basically you can retrieve the data from the tables. Okay, after this you can actually if you want to filter the data. For example, I want to grab any particular data from the you can say table. So let's say filtering the data. So how I can do it, let me give it some spaces like this. I hope you can see my screen very clearly. So let's say select static from users where user name equal to, let's say, I'll provide it in a you can say I'll provide it in a single quotes or double quotes. So let's say this. Let's go with the single quotes. I might do some mistake in quotes, but I actually am here to teach you how it works. So I think that will be fine. So this is how you can filter the data. For example, let's remove this one statement because I showed you both in the same way. So basically I want to get only that data that belongs to Masoud user. How I can do it? I can just type select static that please give me all the data from users table. No, I'm here applying a condition where username should be Masoud. It will look for the username that is equal to Masoud. If it got it, then it will show all the data that belongs to that particular user. This is how you can filter the data. After that okay, we are going good. After that, if you want to update any data, so let's say updating updating data. So let's say I want to update some data. How I can do it? You can use update keyword, update. Then you need to specify the table name, which table you want to do some updation. Let's say users, I want to update some data in user, so that's why update user. And what you do, I want to set a new password. Okay, let's say I want to set a new password. I want to change the password. How I can do it? So I can basically do it like update users and then set password. Now what does this password refer to? This password, if you remember, is a column. This is just a column inside a user table. So basically I'm updating the data in a user table, and I actually want to update only password. So I'll set only the password. I want to do some updation in the password section that belongs to user table, and then I need to provide the new password. So just set password equal to, then you can just specify the new password. Let's call it new password 123. Okay, it is a weak password. Do not use these kind of passwords anyway. So then I need to provide the primary ID. Every user have its own primary ID. Through that primary ID, the data will be uniquely identified. So you will be able to grab any data uniquely from the database with the help of primary key, because every data will have its own unique primary key. That's why I need to provide this primary key too. So let's call it where ID equal to 1. So what it gonna do? It will look for the ID equal to 1, and it will say, hey, this ID equal to 1 belongs to my Masoud user. And okay, I got it. Now what I want to do, it will basically look for the password section. It will look for the password column. Let me give you a easy way. What it will do, it will basically update some data in user table. And then what kind of data it will do? It will basically set a password, and that password will be new password 123. Let's say no. The thing is, there is so many users. which password you want to change. The password will belong to which user. I want to change the password that belongs to Masoud user. So Masoud have its own unique ID. Okay, every user will have its own unique ID. That's why I provide the ID, which is a primary key, so I'm able to update that particular data that belongs to any particular user. So this is how you can actually update the data. Now the next thing is data deletion. Delete data. How to delete data, or you can say it how to delete data. Yeah, how to delete data in SQL with SQL in any database. So basically you can do it with, it is very easy. You just need to type delete, just type delete, and then let's say delete from whom. You just need to type delete from, and then users. Like I want to delete some data that is belongs to users, so delete from users. You need to provide the primary ID, where the ID equal to 1. Let's say the ID equal to 1 belongs to Masoud user, and it will delete all the data. It will wipe up all the data that belongs to Masoud user in a user table. So this is how you can basically delete the data, update the data, filter the data, and retrieve the data. And this is how you can create the databases. This is just the structures, how to create tables, databases. So I hope I have teach you some basics about database. In the notes section, don't worry, everything is here. You will get each and everything. At the end, I just add some dummy structure database. I created a dummy structure based database for you, which is basically belonging to a hospital database information system, practical hospital database information system. So it has just some dummy structure. For example, at first here I created a hospital database, then I used that database, then I created here different you can say tables. At first I created a patient tables which contain patient ID, name, age, gender, each and everything. Then I created a second table that belongs to doctor, so I add their columns like doctor ID, name, doctor specialization, experience, air, xyz. After that, for example, I added a new table which is basically belongs, which is based on appointments. Okay, like patient ID, appointment ID, patient ID, doctor ID. Okay, to whom doctor it is going to be referred, and appointment data. Okay, basically I have added so many things. So and then I just teach you how you can basically insert some data into I think I just forgot to teach you about the insertion. You can actually do insertion into, like you can insert data into any you can say table. So you can just type insert into, then you just need to specify the particular table name, and then you can insert the value. For example, patient, let's say patient have 1 2 3 4 and 5 columns. So you can basically add those data into the columns. Patient ID 1, name John, and it is 35 years old, it is a male, and basically this is the date of you can say admission date or date of admit. So this is how you can insert data into any dummy in database. So I hope you got some basics about in SQL injection, SQL structure query language. No, remember, just get some basic idea how SQL works, that's all. After that, there is a very good resource that I want you that you should must refer. Let's say SQL W3 schools. This is going to be a very good resource. Like if you want to learn more about SQL, you can actually learn. This is the SQL home, so it contains some practical exercises to like SQL intro. What is this? Basically SQL stand for structured query language. You can use it to manipulate data. You can do so many things with it. So all each and everything is here, and you can use it with the websites, do so many and so many things. I'll highly recommend you can just go through it. This is how the tables look like this is a demo database that have a customer table, and this customer id, customer name, customer basically contact number, address, city, postal code, and country. This is something called the columns inside the database, and these columns contain some data. So yeah, this is that how it looks like. And yeah, you can just give it a read, you can just do practice here. I think that will be one of the best resource for you. So that was all for SQL language, or you can call it SQL by itself. I'll see you in the SQL injection section, in which I'll teach how you can exploit SQL vulnerability. So take care, bye. Alright guys, welcome back to the branded news session, our module, and in this session we are going to cover SQL injection, basically structured query language injection. So let's read some theory and then we will start its practical work. So basically SQL injection is a web security vulnerability that allows an attacker to access the data from a database through the application interface. Means if there is a SQL injection vulnerability in website, you will be able to view the database data, or you will be able to access the database data inside that particular web application or a website interface. Okay, if a website or a web application is vulnerable to an SQL injection, an attacker can gain unauthorized access to the data, manipulate or delete it, and even perform other actions. They can extract sensitive information from they can basically extract sensitive information from other users, such as users credentials or credit card details. In some cases SQL injection can also be used to damage the backend infrastructure of a server, causing a distributive denial of service, a DOS attack. Okay, and an attacker can do so many things with SQL injection. So what is the impact of a successful SQL injection attack? If an attacker successfully perform an SQL injection attack, an attacker can gain access to the sensitive data, including passwords, credit card details, and personal users informations. We have recently witnessed high-profile data breaches, which were the result of successful SQL injection attack. Okay, so there is a lot of things happening. If you are active in cyber world, you will be see that in most of the cases, whenever a data breach occur, there will be always an SQL vulnerability behind it, because it is such a powerful vulnerability. I mean, you can do anything with it. If you can dump the database, then what else is remaining in the site? Nothing. So such attack can cause financial and reputational loss to an organization. Once an attacker gain access through SQL injection, they may either sell the data or public it. Additionally, they may deface the website as well. Okay, that was just a bit, you can call it theory about SQL injection. That's why in previous class I have teach you some basics about SQL language. Okay, and now we have done with some theory. I hope you have got the initial knowledge about SQL injection, so you will be ready for the practical labs, for practical demonstration. So we are going to learn different things, like how you can actually bypass the vulnerable login panel, then how you can find SQL injection vulnerabilities and exploit them, how you can go deep into it by finding blind SQL vulnerabilities. So this is what we are going to do. I'll give you some homework, and I'll also perform so many labs by myself. So I'll see you in the practical. Okay. Alright, welcome back. So our first lab is basically SQL injection vulnerability, allowing login bypass. So we will be able to bypass the login panel with the help of SQL injection. So the first thing that you will need to do is to just go to the Google and type SQL injection Swagger labs. That's all you need to search. Just after that, you can just, even though you can remove the lab, this is recommended. Yeah. So yeah, this is the first one, so just go with it. And after that, you can see that we have so many theories, so you can just read over it. I have already teach you some of its basic. Our main thing is to access the labs, so just view all the labs, injection labs from here. And yeah, we have this one, lab SQL injection vulnerability allowing login bypass. So basically, this lab contains an SQL injection vulnerability in the login form. To solve the lab, perform an SQL injection attack to log in into the application as an administrator user. Means that we have to bypass the login panel in order to log in as an administrator user, and they have already provided me the username of an administrator, which is basically an administrator, yeah, which is an administrator by itself. So basically, the login panel will be vulnerable with SQL injection. That's why we will be able to bypass it. Remember, whenever you are able to bypass the admin panel or to bypass the login panel, then it means that that particular login panel is basically vulnerable with SQL injection attack. Okay, after that, we just access the lab, and when I click on my account, you can clearly see I can log in with the I can just logged in, try to logged in, but they will give you an error that invalid username or password. No, let's try to log in with administrator username and administrator password. So when I try to log in, you can see that I'm not able to log in into the application. That's why I need to bypass it. To bypass it, you can just type administrator, and then you can always use comma, and then you can use dash dash, you can call it dash dash. Okay, so basically what we are doing, we are telling to the application that, hey, when you see the username as an administrator, after that just bypass the rest of the query. Remember, whenever you will put your username and password, it will move into the database for verification like this. For example, select username equal to administrator and password equal to anything from database where users where the table equal to users. For example, they will look for the username and password of that particular user in the database. If it exists, they will provide us a session, but if it is not exist, they will just throw us an error like this. So in this kind of cases, what we can do, what I'm trying to do, I'm just providing the username and then I'm commenting the rest of the query. Okay, after that you can just put anything, literally put anything in the comment section, in the password section. It doesn't matter at all. Why? Because this comment will comment out the rest of the query. So you can just type login, and you can see I just logged in as an administrator user. This is how the administrator thing works. Now for the better explanation, if you go to the chat GPT, I always refer you to go to the chat GPT to ask questions. If you have any doubts, it gonna solve you. So you can just type administrator, let's say comma dash dash, and just type explain this SQL injection payload in short way. So just you can see that basically the SQL injection payload administrator comma dash dash is a concise attack designed to exploit a vulnerability in the web application's SQL query. It works by terminating the original query with a single quote. So this is something called quote, okay, with a single quote, and then commenting out the rest of the query with two hyphens. So basically, what it will do, it will just comment out the rest of the query with the single quote and hyphen after the username administrator. This effectively bypass any subsequence code, allowing unauthorized access if the user were an administrator. So this is how the SQL injection vulnerability works in the admin panels or in the dashboard. There is a lot of other commands to for the SQL injection. For example, if you go to the Google and type SQL injection login cheat sheet, SQL injection authentication bypass cheat sheet, so you can just literally see that you can use all of this. All means all of this in order to try. You can just give it a try in order to bypass any admin panel. Okay, so this is how it works. This is how it works. You can always use it. Okay, you can always use it in order to bypass any admin panel in case if it is vulnerable with SQL injection. Okay, I hope you got it. I'll see you in the next lab. Take care. All right, beautiful people, welcome back to the second lab, and in this lab we are going to learn about SQL injection union attack, and we will determine the number of columns returned by the query. So basically I'll teach you how you can find out how many columns there exist in any web application. So yeah, you can just copy this query, let me do it, or even though you can search it there. So don't worry, you will get all these note stuff, so no worries at all. Let me check everything is working fine. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so I'll just go to the labs, and here I'm going to use Control F and search. So here we have the second lab, so let's open it. After opening the second lab, you can see that it is basically SQL injection union attack. So it means that there is SQL injection and we need to perform union based attack in order to determine the number of columns returned by the query. So we need to determine the number of columns. Basically this lab is vulnerable with SQL injection, and the vulnerability exists in the product filter category. Okay, so there is a product category filter where you can just filter the products, and then you can just you can perform SQL injection because it is vulnerable with SQL vulnerability. The result from the query are returned in the web application in the application response. So you can use a union attack to retrieve a data from other tables, which means that you are whenever you perform anything or SQL query, you will be able to see the result of the from the server in the web application response, which means that you can actually perform a union attack to retrieve the data to grab the data from the other tables. The first step of such an attack is to determine the number of columns that are being returned by the query. So we need to determine the number of columns. This is going to be the first step of any attacker to perform SQL injection, because if you have an idea how many columns there exist, then it will be easy for you. Okay, so yeah, let's determine the number of column by performing an SQL injection attack. So this is something called product filter category. You can just filter the result by clicking on these menus. Okay, so this is basically different categories to filter the result. Like you have literally all the data, all the results, but if you want to go with any particular result, you can just go with it like this. Okay, and you can also see that we got some modification in here. Okay, the next thing is I'll need to open my notes, so I'll just close this one and I'll open new. What just I did, just give 1 second. Leaf pad, I'll open the leaf pad, go to options and maximize it a bit. So yeah, uh, perform SQL to get the numbers of column. So we need to determine the number of column. In this way you can perform a union based attack, but remember, first you will need to verify that is this particular URL or web application or page is vulnerable with SQL injection or not. So you can always use single quote to verify that is it vulnerable or not. So you can just put a single quote at the end of the query. If the application become broke, if it gives you an error, that it means that it is actually vulnerable with SQL injection. So when you hit enter, you can clearly see the application is broke and it is giving me an error with internal server error. Okay, so it means that it is vulnerable with SQL injection. So firstly, first verify the application with single quote to confirm is it vulnerable with SQL injection or not. Okay, this is going to be the first step. Once you done with it, then it means that the application is actually vulnerable. Now the second thing is you can do is find out the number of columns. Okay, how you can do it? You can actually perform a union based attack, like single single colon, and then you can just type plus. Okay, union plus select plus all, and then you can just type plus null and dash dash. Let's verify this in the solution 2 to check that are we going good or not. Union plus select plus null. Okay, I just got it. So union plus select, you just remove the all, we do not need all right now. Union select plus null. Now you will be confused that what does this actually means. Actually what I'm trying to do here, let me simplify it. I'm performing a union based attack, like I'm just doing union select. I'm using select statement in order to check for the number of columns. Okay, union select will be always included in this kind of queries, and this null means that is the application contain only one column. If it give me an error, then it will be means that no, there is more than one number of column. So the null value by default representing the one number of column. I'm just asking to the server that hey, to the backend database, that hey, do you have one number of column? At the end I'm just putting this dash dash. It is compulsory, you have to use it. This is how the SQL query works whenever you will try to run the query. And in the beginning, remember, you will need to put your single quote. Okay, after that those plus signatures representing the URL encoding. So it is basically web based URL encoding. You can always use it, or even though if you didn't use it, the browser will add it by default, so it doesn't matter at all. So you can just copy it and paste it here. Just remove the single quote because our query already containing a quote, a single quote, so you just can't upload multiple quotes. This is how it looks like. You can see single quote union select null and dash dash. Okay, I'm just asking to the server that to the backend database that hey, you have one number of column, and when I hit enter, you can see it is giving me an error, which means that there is more than one number of column. So what I'll do, I'll copy the same query. Remember, I'll copy the same query and paste it here. After this, I'll just use comma and one more null value in order to verify is it contain two number of columns. Yeah, those two nulls representing the number of columns, so I have put two number of columns. I have put two columns, which means that there might be possible if it contain two number of columns, so then it is not going to give me an error. So if you put enter, still it is giving me an error. The recommended thing is that you always need to go with this one method. Okay, always use plus signatures plus samples in your query. That will be good. So let's give it a try with it. It didn't work for me. Just increase the number of null value by typing comma and null. It is still giving me an error, which means that there might be possible there is more than two number of columns. So I'll put null for the third time, and you can clearly see I got the number of columns, which is basically 3. So in this case, at first I try with one number of column, it gives me an error. Then I try with two number of columns, it gave me an error, which means that there is more than two number of columns. And at the end, when I try with three number of columns, then I literally got the result, and I didn't get any kind of error, which means that there is three number of columns. So you can use the above one query too by just putting the third one null value. Let me show you. You can just copy it and go to the application, and then you can just remove the old query and place this new one. And remember, I just forgot to put here single quote in the beginning. So now you can see that I'm still getting the same result, which means that this application contained three number of columns. So I just come to know that hey, it contains three columns. So this is how you can determine the number of columns in any web application. We are going to go step by step. Now we have learned about how to determine columns. Now we will go each step one by one to upgrade our queries. Like it was just a beginner level query. I'll see you in the next lab. Take care. Alright, beautiful people, let's solve the third lab, in which we are going to perform SQL injection union attack. At first we will need to find out the columns, then we will try to check out which column containing text data. Okay, because in future we need that particular column to grab data from it. Okay, so basically we will go step by step. At first we will find out how many column the web application contain, then we will look for which column containing a text or string based data, because that text or string based column can be used to grab other data from the database. So I'll just type Control F and search for the particular third lab. Here we have, so just open it, and after opening it, you can see that we have a new lab. Just access it. Basically this lab contains SQL injection vulnerability in the product category filter. The result from the query are returned in the application response. You can use a union attack to retrieve a data from the other tables. As we have learned all this stuff in our previous labs, basically we have to retrieve the data from the tables, and the vulnerability exists in the product filter category. To construct such an attack, you first need to determine the number of columns returned by the query. You can do this using the technique you have learned in the previous lab, so definitely you can do it. The first thing that we will need to determine is the number of column. The next step is to identify a column that is basically compatible with string data. Okay, so This lab provides a random value that you need to make a pair within the query result to solve the lab. Perform a union attack. Okay, so basically we will need to perform a union based attack, and here you can clearly see that we have gifts. We have a product filter categories. All this are filter category. You can just click on anyone you want because these all are vulnerable. To confirm the vulnerability, the first thing that you need to do is you just need to provide single quote. If the application throws you an error, if the application broke, then it means that the vulnerability, the SQL injection vulnerability exists there. So basically this is how it works. After this, when I come to know that yes, it is actually vulnerable, if you remember last time in our notes, I have created some query in order to confirm that how many column it contain. So basically you can just copy the first one and just paste it here. Okay, just paste it here to look that how many number of column it contains. So I have just confirmed that it contain more than one number of columns, so I'll copy the second one. Yes, copy the second one to check that is it containing two number of columns, the null value representing the number of columns actually. So just copy it and paste it here. What I did, I just okay, paste it here. So I just confirm that no, is it contain more than two number of columns. So I'll go with the third one, and I'll just remove the previous query and I'll add the new query. So I just came to know that yes, it contained two number of columns. So I successfully verified that it contained two number of columns. Now the next thing that I'll need to do, you can just use this technique without plus, and it is recommended to always use this technique as it is professional. Okay, so yeah, you can always use this one. I'll highly recommend you to always use this one. The above one was just a simple to teach you how it works. So I have just come to know that the application containing basically three number of columns. So now let's find out which column contain text data. Okay, so we need to identify this. For this, I'll just put this query, this old query that I the one that through which I just discovered that it contains three number of columns. Now I'll remove the first null value and I'll use two single quotes here, and I'll put some demo data in it. For example, ABC as a text data. Remember, if it returns me that text data, then it means that the first column contain string data, text data. It have the ability to return me the string based data or text based data. So I'll just copy it and I'll go back to the application and I'll just remove the previous query and add the new one, and you can see that it gives me an error, which means that this first null value is not able to give me the output of string or text based data. Okay, it is not going to give me the string based or text based data. So what I'll do, I'll again copy the query, I'll again copy the old query, and this time I will test the second number of column. So I'll go with the second column. Let's call it ABC. For example, you can put anything you want, it doesn't matter at all. So I have just copy it. The first one I just maintain as it is because it is giving me an error, so that's why it is useless for me. So I'm just trying the second number of column, the second one. So I'll copy it and I'll paste it here. After pasting it, you can clearly see it gives me the text data, which means that the second column containing string based data, text based data, it is very useful for me. Now let's also verify the third one. So copy the same query again, and now this time verify the third number of column, which is this one. So just remove it and type two single quotes and put any dummy data in it just to check is it returning me the error value or not. So I'll just paste it here, and it is also giving me the error, which means that the only working you can say SQL query is this one. Okay, so let's use a hash working query for us. So I'm going to use this query to perform further attacks. I will go with this query. Okay, let's say I will go with the below query. Okay, so this is going to be our query that we will be able to grab username or passwords from this through this column which contain a string data. But you can, they what they told me, to solve the lab just put this one. So you can just put this one instead of ABC. It doesn't matter at all, it is just for the solution of lab. So just copy the same query and make a copy and just replace the ABC with this one. Okay, it doesn't matter at all what you put, but it is just for the sake of the lab, that's all. So as they have told me to solve the lab, make sure to retrieve the this number of this string. So just paste the query and hit enter, and you can see that it returns me the same query, and they just told me that, hey, congratulations, you have solved this lab. So this is how you can find out. At first we have learned how you can deep dive into admin panel to bypass it. Then we have learned how you can perform SQL injection attack to find out is the application is vulnerable with SQL injection or not, with the help of single code. Then we discover how to determine the number of columns. Now in the third phase we just learn how you can find out those columns who contain the text data or string based data. In the next lab we will learn how actually you can perform SQL injection attack. So we are just going step by step. Okay, I'll see you in the next lab. All right, beautiful people, welcome back to the fourth lab of our SQL injection. And in this lab I will actually demonstrate you how you can grab data, how you can pull data, okay, how you can retrieve data from the tables. Like for example, we have different tables in a single database, and it might be possible, but it definitely possible that there will be a users table which will contain definitely username and password regarding users. So this is what we are going to do. We will retrieve the data from the user tables. Okay, so basically our fourth lab is SQL injection attack. We will do it with the help of union attack, and our ultimate goal is to retrieve the data from the other table. So this is our ultimate goal. Here is our lab. You can just search it by finding it. I have already showed you in the second tutorial how you can do it. Okay, after this we have this lab. So basically let's give it a try. Let's read it. This lab contains SQL injection vulnerability in the product category filter. So there is a product category filter which basically contain which is vulnerable with SQL injection, and the result from the query is returned in the application response. Means you will get the response in the response tab from the server. So you can use a union attack to retrieve the data from the other tables. Remember, we need to retrieve the data from the tables. To construct such an attack, you need to combine some of the techniques that we have learned previously. So if you didn't watch the previous labs, I'll recommend you to do it, because without knowing them you are not able to solve this lab. Okay, so basically we need some basic knowledge. We have already done. We are going to utilize that knowledge. I'll access the lab until we give it a read further. So the database contain a different table called users. So there is users table in the database. Remember, there is a users table in the database which contain columns, which have columns username and password. Means there are columns which the one is username and the second column is password in the user table. Okay, to solve the lab, perform SQL injection attack, retrieve the username and password, and then try to log in as an administrator user. So basically our ultimate goal is to get the username and password that belongs to administrator user. So I'll access the lab as I have done it already. and we have different product filter categories. You can see, you just click anyone and first try to find out is it vulnerable or not. To do it, you just need to type a single quote at the end. After doing this, if the application drops an error, it means that the error could be anything like SQL syntax error or anything like this. Okay, if it broke the application, then it is also vulnerable. So here we have an error, which means that probably definitely the application is vulnerable. The first thing that we need to do is what I just did. The first thing that we need to do is to open our notes, as I have taught you how you can actually find out the number of columns. So I'll give it a try with one null value to find out is it contain only one null, is it contain only one column. So let's put it here and try. It is giving me an error, which means that there are more than one number of columns. So let's give it two nulls to find out is it contain two number of columns. And we have already written this query, so no need to rewrite it again and again. So yeah, I just confirmed that we have two number of columns. So it means that there are only two columns. The one is username and the second one is password. Now we need to find out which column contain text data. Now here it is very important to be noted, because you can grab the data only from those columns who return you text data, who contain text data. If it gives you an error while getting text data, then that column is useless for us. It might be possible that it contains something else, not text data. So what I'm gonna do, I'll go with this one query at first, not with this one, sorry. So I'll just go with the normal query. Let me copy it and let me paste it here. Okay, here. Let me do it here, from here. So this is going to be the query that I'll perform. So I'll remove the first null value. I will use here two single quotes, and I will just type, for example, ABC, to check is the first column returning me text data or not. So just paste it, and you can see that the first column is actually giving me the text data, which means that it is a good indicator, it is a good sign. We can go for the second step. So I'll just again make a copy, and I'll remove the second null, and I'll put, for example, here DEF, to check is the second column giving me a text based data or not. If it is giving me, which means that both are applicable, both have the ability to grab me the data from the database. So I'll paste it, and you can clearly see ABC and DEF both are good to go. I can use both of them. So here is the time to grab the username and password that belongs to an administrator user. So I'll just make a query like this, union plus select, and here we have we need to create the query union plus select plus, remember you need to type plus for encoding, username comma plus password. Now why I'm doing it, because they told me that there are two columns, the one is username and the second one is column. That's why earlier I have teach you how you can retrieve the data in SQL. So what I'm going to do, I'm retrieving the username column and password column from whom, from plus from users, yes, from users table, because the user is a table that contain two column, username and password. So I'll just copy it, and I'll go back to the label, and I'll just remove the old one query, and I'll paste the new one. Now here you can see that I have successfully grabbed the username and password. So this is the username and password that belong to the administrator user, and this is the username that belongs to Carlos user, and this is the username and password that belongs to winner user. Our ultimate goal was to grab the username and password that belong to administrator user. So we have this password. Let's try to log in into the application. So I'll go back, I'll click on my account, and I'll type administrator as a username and paste the password, and boom, you can see that we have solved this lab. So this is how you can grab the data from any table columns with the help of SQL injection attack. In the next lab, I will show you a second technique that we are going to perform. Okay. All right, beautiful people, welcome back to the news tutorial. And in this lab we are going to solve in this tutorial, in this lecture, we are going to solve another lab. The lab will be totally same. We will still grab the username and password from user column, but remember this time we have to use a single column because both of the columns will not be acceptable to get string based data. That's why we will need to use only one column. So let's search about it. So when you just control F and paste, you will be able to get it here. So just right click on it, you will be able to get the lab from here. After that you can just access the lab. So let's give it a let's start it. SQL injection union attack, retrieving multiple values in a single column. So we will need to retrieve multiple values in a single column, and we are going to use here string concatenation. Okay. And if you have a little bit programming background, then you know what a string concatenation means. If you don't know, don't worry, at the end I'll tell you. So basically this lab is vulnerable with SQL injection vulnerability, and the vulnerability exists in the product filter category. You will be able to see the response in the application interface, and you will need to retrieve the data with the help of union attack. Okay, from the tables, and the database contain the same user tables, the users table, and that user table have a two column, basically the username and password. And you will need to solve the lab and try to get the administrator privileges, sorry, username and password, get the administrator password and username. So basically we have different columns. So just you can open any one of it, and then you can just test the application. If it returns you an error with single quote, then it means that this is vulnerable with SQL injection. So after this you can just construct an attack by just remember SQL injection. SQL is a case is not a case sensitive, which means that you can type union in this way, and you can just type select and this way, like it doesn't matter at all, you can type, but I'll recommend you to go with a particular method so it will be easy for you. Let's construct an attack, but before constructing an attack we need to verify that how many column is there. I just already come to know that there are only two columns exist, so I'll not waste your time. I'll just go with this one query. So union select plus abc and comma null dash dash. So basically what I am doing here, I already discovered that there are only two column, and I am checking the first column, that is the first column contain text data or not. And when I press enter, you can see that it is giving me an error. Before putting the data, I need to show you that actually it contain only two columns. So you just need to type null again, and you can see it actually contain only two columns. Okay, so this time I'll replace the first null with abc, let's say abc, and it is giving me an error, which means that the first column have no ability to grab me the string data from the database. That's why I'll check the second one. So I'll put some data in the second column to check and I have discovered that yes, the second column is returning me the data, the string, which means that it have the ability to give me the string based data. I'll remove the old administrator username and password, and this time I just discovered that this is going to be the command that I am going to use. So I just discovered that the second column have the ability to give me the text based data. No, I'll use only the second column because the first column is not usable, so I'll leave it as it is. That's why I need to use the second column in order to grab the username and password from user table. So let's construct an attack by just typing union plus select plus remember the null will be as it is because it is useless for me, then comma, then what I'm trying to do, I'll grab username and after the username you just need to provide pipe, and then just two times single quotes and just type tilde in it, and then again close it with two pipes. Now you will be confused that what is this is basically a string concatenation. So in SQL, with the help of string concatenation means you can combine multiple strings together in a single column, in a single row. Here what I am trying to do, I am trying to grab username and password with a single column, from the single column. So after that I just need to type password. Remember, it was not possible at all to just type username and comma password from user table. Why? Because this is the second null value. If you remember, this is the second null value, which is basically the second column, and column will give you only one time data. You can grab only username or you can grab only password at once, but I do not have any other way. That's why I'm using string concatenation. Okay, with the help of string concatenation I am able to grab the username and password from whom? From users tables. So this is how it works. Then at the end just type dash dash. So just copy it, and after copying it just go back to the lab and paste it here. I hope you got the meaning of string concatenation, where you can combine two records together, or two strings together. So this is how it works, and you can clearly see it gives me the password that belongs to the Carlos, it gives me the password that belongs to administrator, and it gives me the password that belongs to the you can call it the administrator. So I'll copy the password of an administrator user. I'll go back to my account and I will type here, I think administrator as a username and password as a and I just paste the password, and you can clearly see I just solved the lab. So this is how you can retrieve multiple values in a single column with the help of string concatenation. And remember, this is the string concatenation sample that you can use in SQL. Two pipes, then two times single quotes, just type tilde in it and close it, and then just before just give a column name before the string concatenation and after the string concatenation, so you will get your result. Okay, I hope you have got some basic idea about it. I'll see you in the next lab. Alright guys, welcome back to the new lab, and in this lab we are going to cover about what we have learned in our previous labs. Like, we will collect all of the learning and we will put them together in one lab. So basically we have the lab SQL injection attack listing the database content on a non-Oracle database. Well, we have two kind of databases, Oracle based databases and non-Oracle based databases. If I go to ChatGPT and ask list me the names of non-Oracle databases, you will be able to see that it has so many, like MySQL, PostgreSQL, Microsoft SQL Server, MongoDB SQLite, so many and so many. So basically we are going to cover this for non-Oracle based databases. We will do all the steps one by one in order to achieve it. So what I'm gonna do, I'll just copy the name of the lab, and then just go back to the labs of SQL. Just search about it, you will be able to see them here, just right click on it and open it in you're gonna just open it in a new lab, new tab. So once you open it, everything will be something look like this. So here we have a solution tab, you can just go through it if you are not able to solve it, and you can just access the lab. But before going through the lab, into the lab, I think we need to read the description. So basically this lab contain SQL injection vulnerability in the product category filter. The result from the query are returned in the application response. As always, you will be able to see the response in the application, and moreover, the product filter category is basically vulnerable with SQL injection, okay, vulnerability, and you will need to perform union based attack in order to retrieve the data from the other table. And the application has a logic function, and the database contain a table that hold username and password. Remember, if you remember last time, they have provided me the users table and the username and the password column, but this time they are not going to provide me anything. We have to do everything by ourselves. Means we will need to find the table that contain username and password, and then we will grab the username and password from that particular table. So you need to determine the name of this table and column it contains. So we need to determine the tables and the name of the columns that it contains, then retrieve the content and obtain the username and password for all users. So this is what we need to do, and at the end we need to grab the administrator user login credentials, and they have also provided me SQL injection cheat sheet, so you can just go through it if you want it. Like here we have all the cheat sheet that you might need it in future, or you need it while solving the labs. I'll recommend you to just save it with yourself. You should know at least about it. Okay, here we have different categories. Like I click on pets and I'll check the application by using single quote to check is it vulnerable or not, and the application broke down. It means that yeah, it is actually vulnerable with SQL injection vulnerability. So if you remember, we are just doing each and everything in the notes format. What I'll do here, I'll go the first thing I'll need to find is the number of column. So I'll go with one null value to check whether it contain one column or not. So union plus select plus null and dash dash, and it is giving me an error, which means that there are more than one number of columns. So I'll go with the two number of columns, union select null and null. I'll just increase it with the null value, yeah, from 1 to 2. That's all you need to do. So you can see I just discovered that there is two number of columns, which means that we are good to go now. I have just find out that yes, actually it contain two number of columns. The next thing I need to do is to remove the first null value and check is it contain text or string based data. So I'll use two single quotes and I'll put some dummy data into it to see that if it is returning me that value, then that data, that string or text, then it means that it have the ability, it is useful table, it is useful column, so we can utilize it. And it is not giving me an error but returning me the string or text, then it means that yeah, we are good to go with it. Then I'll check for the second null value. Let's type def here. If in case if it gives you an error, then you have to leave it as it is a null by itself, because you just cannot put anything into it, because the application will give you an error and you will not be able to perform SQL injection. So in this case, both tables, both columns have the ability to give me the data. So this is a plus point for me, like, to be honest. The next thing I'll need to do is, let me do it here. I'll recommend you to write the queries rather doing copy paste. Okay, as I memorize everything. So the next thing is we will create a payload that will basically list the database, that will basically list the tables in the database. Okay, so just union plus select plus, then for the I just need tables. So by default the table names in non-Oracle databases is table name. So just type table and then just type name, and then just type comma name, 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 then just type comma and plus, and the second null value should be as it is, because I'm only interested in to view the table names, that's all. Okay, right now I need to perform only one query. Okay, then we need to perform from where I need to grab it from, plus there is a by default table in tables in the database of non-oracle databases. Basically you can just find out them by just typing information schema dot tables. So you just need to type information schema dot tables and dash dash. That's all you need to do. Remember, this information schema dot tables is by default for all the tables of non-oracle databases, and this table name is also by default, so you just cannot modify it. You can use it for all the websites that are basically non-oracle. So just copy it and go back to the website and remove the first query and paste the new one. And you can clearly see I literally listed all the tables that are in the database. So all I'm interested in to find out the user table. So let's type let's find out users. Okay, users table. So here I only got one match, and this is going to be, I think it is going to be the user table. So here we just got the user table, and we will list it here. So it is a user table. After this, what we can do now, we need to find the name of the table containing user credentials. Okay, we will find out. Okay, so we will create a new payload that will retrieve the details of the column in the user table. This one that we have discovered is a table. It will definitely contain so many columns, and we need to grab those columns in order to check what kind of column it have. If it contain username and password column, then it will be easy for us to grab the username and password. No, just this query is going to be a little bit long, but it will be easy, don't worry. So just type the union select statement as it is, union plus select plus. Remember, this time we are not going to use the table name, as this time I'm interested in column, so that's why I'll type column name. Okay, in union select column name from whom. Basically you need to provide the null value too, because we have two columns, if you remember. Okay, null. No, you can type from. No, you need to provide the default schema of columns. So you just need to type information schema dot columns. You know, these both queries is in same. For tables you just need to type table name, and for column you just need to type column name. And for by default tables in non-oracle databases, you just need to type information schema dot tables, and for columns you just need to type information schema dot columns. That's all you need to do. No, you need to specify the condition, like you need to provide the condition to from where you want to grab the columns, from where you want to grab the columns. Now here I will set a condition where table name equal to this. Just paste it, and at the end use dash dash as it is. So you can see that let me minimize it a bit. If I unwrap it, okay, so you can see union select column name, that hey, I want to select column name null from information schema dot columns, where basically where the table name is the one that we have discovered which belongs to user table. So this is what we actually did. We just created a query with the help of which you will be able to find out the yeah, I think it should be like this. That will be more fine, but yeah, this is fine. So you can just go through it. Union select column name null from information schema dot columns, where the table name equal to the user table that we have discovered. So just copy it. Okay, I just copied the entire one and I'll paste it here. And boom, it gives me the error. All right, we just did a mistake. You need to find out the mistake, that where we actually did the mistake. So let's copy it. Let's copy it, repaste it here, or just open the notes. Okay, so union plus select plus column name, union plus select plus column name, null from information schema dot columns. Yeah, columns where table name equal to this one. So let's do one thing. Let's enclose it in a single quote. Let's enclose this string in a single quote and then see is it fine with us or not. So I'll just make a copy of it, and I'll go back and I'll just open this. So let's go through it, remove the old query and paste the new one, and it is still, yeah, the error has been removed. It is now returning me a valid content, which means that we need to use this single quotes to yeah, this is basically a string that contain a special character. That's why we need to encode it. We need to close it in a string. So basically we got so many things. Like you can clearly see we got the column. So basically there are two columns. The one is basically users column and the second one is password column. So we just come to the conclusion that yeah, there is two number of columns. This is going to be the username column and the password column. So I'll paste it here. As I discover, no, I have successfully the user table name and I have the the user name column and the password column. No, I need to grab the password and username from this user table from the above. So let's create the final payload for it. You just need to type union plus select plus now we need to select this username and then just put comma, and then just remember you need to type +2 and then just paste the password column from whom, from user table, definitely from this table, and just type dash dash. You can clearly see it is a very simple query. Union select username and password from whom, from this user table. So I'll just copy it. It might be possible it gave me some error, but we're gonna fix it if it is. So just remove the old query and paste it. Union select plus username password from user table. So just hit enter and you can clearly see we got everything without error. So this is the administrator username and password. This is the winner username and password. It might be possible it contain Carlos. So yeah, we just got it. So just copy it, make it a copy, and just go to the my account and try to log in with administrator and put the password and hit enter, and you can see that boom, we have solved this lab. So this was just a bit complex, not that much, but it was just a lengthy. I'll recommend you, if you do it multiple time, you will definitely solve this. So let's give it a quick recap. At first we discover it contain only two column. Both column have the ability to return me text data. Then what I basically did, I just used the attack vector to grab the table names from information schema table, which is basically by default table in the non-Oracle databases. So I just type union select table name null from information schema dot tables. It gives me all the table. Then in the table I discover that there is a user column, which might be able to contain users username and password columns. Then I created an attack vector to explore this, that what kind of this columns this table contain. So I just type union select column name null from information schema dot columns, where the table name equal to the above one. So basically it gives me two columns, the username column and the password column. Then what just I did, I just type union select username comma plus password from information schema from the particular users table, and dash at the end to comment out the rest of the query. So remember this, there is no spaces in this, so you can just do it like this. You just need to type comma. So by default it is redirecting me into the next line, but if I maximize it like this, you will be able to see that it is in a one line. Yeah, I hope you can see it without any issue. Okay, so this is how it works. We just done with it. I'll recommend you to go through the non-Oracle database as a homework if you can do it. Otherwise you can skip it. This is not compulsory at all. Like not compulsory, not in a sense that you don't need to do it, but you got a non-Oracle database, you can just do it with Oracle databases. There is not a big deal. It is going to be your homework, and after that I'll just do one or two more labs. It might be possible I skip the third one, the last one, or if it needed, I'll just do it. So this too is compulsory for blind SQL injection. I'll see you in the next lab to solve the blind SQL injection vulnerability. We just done with SQL injection in a normal way. So take care, bye. Alright, beautiful people, welcome back to the new lab of SQL injection, and this time we will perform blind SQL injection, which means that you will not be able to see the response in your solution tab, in your response tab. So then what we can do, basically our lab is blind SQL injection with time delay. You can just search it and open it in a new tab, as I did it already. To avoid the waste of time, we need a burp suite for it too. Okay, so you can clearly see that we have some description. Let's go through it. This lab contain a blind SQL injection vulnerability. The application use a tracking cookie for analytics and performs SQL query containing the value of the submitted cookie. So basically there is a tracking cookie. Basically the application use tracking cookies. They use tracking cookie for analytics, to do some analytics stuff, and then they perform SQL query that containing basically the value of the particular submitted query. The result of the SQL query are not returned. That's why we call these vulnerabilities blind vulnerabilities. Whenever there is a blind in vulnerability, then just remember you will not be able to get the response in the application response tab. So all you can do is to use the third-party server, or you can use burp suite collaborator in order to confirm that particular vulnerability. Okay, so this is how it works. Our basic goal is basically that we need to find out this vulnerability and then just trigger it. Okay, but remember what we are going to do. We will use a time delay command on the server in order to sleep the server, or in order to shut down the server, in order to cause the delay of 10 second or 30 second or whatever you call it. So basically let's access the lab. And after accessing the lab, the next thing you will need to do is to check out your burp. It is being a long time, I didn't restart it, so I need to do it. until my lab will also being opened. So yeah, we have this lab. I think I need to refresh it for one time. Okay, I just closed my burp, that's why it is giving me the error, but no worries. Yeah, everything is fine. So let's reload the burp, reload the page. Our page will be reloaded. Until the page get reloaded, yeah, so basically this is the application that we are interested in, and we need to perform an attack over it. That's why I'll need to go to the I'll need to go to the proxy, and in the proxy I'll need to go to the http history. So just close, remove the old record, and just reload it at once, and then just click on any particular product. So you can clearly see every request in its body using tracking cookie, and this tracking cookie is basically vulnerable. Okay, you can also see that it is also containing a tracking cookie. It is from YouTube, so just leave it. Yeah, these are the requests that I just did, and it contained tracking cookies. All these tracking cookies are tracking IDs are vulnerable, so just click any one of it, like anyone means anyone that related with the particular lab, and then send it to the repeater. Okay, when I send it to the repeater, now here is a thing. This tracking cookie is basically vulnerable with blind SQL injection. We need to, when you send the request, you will be able to see the response, or you will be able to see nothing. But the main thing is you will be able to get the response in few milliseconds. Here I need to crash the server for a few seconds. So what I can do, I'll just use double pipe, and then I'll use sleep command, pg sleep, and then you just need to specify the time for how much seconds you want to shut down the server. Let's say for 20 seconds, and then type dash dash. That's all you need to do. Just copy it. This is a command. You can execute this command literally on anything. So the next thing is, let's remove the tracking cookie entirely, and then just provide this command instead of tracking cookie, and you can see it gives me response so faster. But the thing is, I think I just forgot to put here the single quote. If you remember, it is compulsory before exploiting any SQL injection vulnerability. Now let's do it again, and it is just giving me the response so much quicker, which means that I am actually not able to exploit this vulnerability. Let's provide any value. For example, let's say x, and then single quote, double pipe pg sleep 20 dash dash. Okay, it is giving me fast response. I need to check the exact query. So to check the exact query, here we have. So what I'll do, I'll just copy this one, tracking ID. Remember, this tracking ID already exists there, so we do not need to to type it again. So just for the sake of the tutorial, I'm doing this. So this is the original query through which you will be able to exploit it. So let's copy it, and then just paste it after the equal to. And you can see I'm getting a fast response, and if I open the lab, yeah, I think I need to capture any particular request. It might be possible that it is because of the request. So what I'll do, I'll just go to the proxy, and then I'll click on interceptor, and I'll turn on the interceptor, and I'll just refresh it. After refreshing it, you can see that I just got the request. So just send this request to the repeater, and then turn off the interceptor, and then just remove the tracking ID, and paste the paste that particular command. So hit enter, and yes, it is working now. Do you know why we were facing errors? You have to put this single you have to put the single you have to put the semicolon, and you can clearly see that they just told me that congratulations, you have solved this lab. Our command was working perfect. If we go back here, everything was fine. The only thing that we were missing is basically the semicolon. So you just need to type as it is the part of the query by itself. By default, you have to terminate the query in this way. So if you type this, you can see that I think this belongs to anyone else. So you can just I'll shut it down for a while, and I think this one is fine. We just messed up with that particular one. If you remove the value of x, let's see what's happened. Still you will be able to get the response delay. So there is no need to type x. You can just type single quote double pipe pg sleep and then provide the time delay. For example, if you provide 30 seconds and it will be delay for 30 seconds, you will not be able to see the response in 30 seconds. As well as you can just type dash dash and semicolon. So this is how the blind SQL injection vulnerabilities work. With time delay, you can confirm the SQL injection with time delay. You can shut down the server temporarily. So yeah, basically this is how it works. You can basically confirm these kind of vulnerabilities with these kind of commands.
Want to master cybersecurity, ethical hacking, and penetration testing? Type bootcamp in the comments, and I'll send you the link to join our complete training.